Have any other topics you want to discuss? I mean, the thing is like, as I said before, you and I have already discussed all of the matches that have happened on other shows, whether it was Best Damn League Show or Power Spike this week. But we can dive into that. Any interesting takes you have on LPL finals or the way LEC is unfolding?
Yeah, let's do a little bit of all of it. So on the LPL, I would actually say this was just, sadly, here's the problem. Even though BLG did play really well, like it's one of those examples, a bit like BDS in Europe. I can't hate on the team that won the games. They did deserve to win the games. Sadly, the playoffs for LPL were just a little bit underwhelming for me because BLG wasn't one of my big teams. I wanted to see all those matchups I was bragging you about, all those last time. I wanted to see JDG against like fucking LNG and then like Weibo and then maybe TES. And spoiler, none of those matches happened because of BLG and also fucking OMG, sadly. So in the end, the good news for me is this, right? BLG, like BDS, do deserve to be at MSI. That's cool. But also, I need like a really good team. So same as in Europe, it's going to be like G2 or Vitality. At least I got JDG out of China. At least I got them because that was a team that from the second you saw the roster, you were like, this could be really exciting. You saw the initial games. Yeah, they have the odd game that they throw super hard. When they hit, this team is so fucking powerful in League of Legends. Like this was a team where when I even saw the roster, I was like, dude, if they play this right, this is a world champion right here. So that still looks to be the case with JDG. As you see, when their game is on, they are amazing. And I can tell you what, mate, after all those years of seeing Jackie Love fucking int Knight, oh, it's a blessing to have Ruler. Do you know what it feels like to have Ruler instead of Jackie Love? Because if people don't know, even though he's become a bit more aggressive in the last few years when they play around him, Ruler is probably the best example of the safe ADC that doesn't throw the game. He's the opposite of Jackie Love, but he's just as fucking good or better at the game. So this is why, like, if they keep this combo together, mate, Knight and Ruler, mate, they are going to run the fucking LPL for years to come. That combo is fucking fire, mate. It's fire.
Especially because they've been able to skirmish so successfully in like the 3v3s and the bot river and around the dragon and stuff like that, with missing as well, or with Kanavi being there. And that's how they get a lot of their advantages. I will say, like, if you guys have been watching JDG throughout the season, first off, this was a very dominant series by JDG. Like, yes, they lost game 3. There were some questionable choices, such as they had been playing the Cassante, Bin locks in the Gwen, and then they counterpick themselves with Cassante because we've seen the Gwen be a counterpick. So, I mean, I think they were kind of fucking around in game number 3, if I'm being honest. And then they came back and just, clapped BLG in the last game of the series. I guess it was a little closer, but honestly,
I also do love the way in League, that is like a really famous trend. Have you noticed that the second that you get amazing and you think you're the best team in the world, you have to instantly do some shit like a British villain would in an old 80s movie where it's like, I will just pointlessly give you a head start now, you fucking you could never defeat me. It's like, why don't just win 3-0? But they can never do it. Yeah. It's like Samsung White back in the day. True. They couldn't just 3-0 TSM. They had to actually try and prove like TSM can't even play League of Legends, That's so silly, isn't it? I do sort of love it though. I low-key love it in a way.
So I for those of you who didn't watch the season, JDG wasn't, they were extremely good when they were good. They played very well from ahead. They have had some issues, like Kanavi has kind of inted some games, so there's still like that question mark a little bit, although it didn't show up in the finals. I thought Kanavi
I'll tell you what the interesting angle on that one is, Monty. This is something people will miss because this is connected to why BLG made it this far. If people don't know, sadly, because of JDG, individually, Yagao was actually always overrated. He's just, because you have to understand, he was never actually in the elite circle of mids. The elite circle of mids was Rookie, Knight, fucking Zhao, Scout. Like, you have to understand, it's so stacked in China. We're not even hating on him by saying he wasn't in that group. His whole style, if people don't know, was he was like, if you remember the old style when he was in Cloud9 of Niski, of like he helps the jungler, that's what Yagao does with Kanavi. And so what he's done successfully in his career is he works really well with the team. He's like a mega good mid for that. So that's one reason why I also think Kanavi had some dodgy games this split, Monty, is because he didn't have Yagao, which is equivalent to like when suddenly you take out the Niski equation and you just put in a really good mid laner, but they're just a selfish mid laner. You're not going to have the same connection. You're not going to have the same person guiding you. You're not going to have the same interactions. So I even wonder if that's part of the equation, because I also agree. Like, I thought Kanavi would be even better, but actually, if anything, he's a little bit weaker in this team, I feel.
Yeah, he's made some really weird individual decisions at times, like on invades and dying in kind of strange ways. I think it's gotten better, and we saw less of that during the playoffs and certainly a lot less of it during the finals. But I'm talking about potential weaknesses here at MSI. Obviously, this is an extremely good team and probably should be considered like a co-favorite going into MSI alongside Gen G. The positives have been immense, right? Outside of some, like the Weibo series very early on in the LPL where Ruler just completely griefed that series. Ruler has been amazing. Ruler was incredible in this series. 369 has been insanely stable as a player. And what I love about 369 is that, he kind of neutralizes the top lane. Like we saw him taking the Cassante into the Jax in the first 2 games and performing very well. He can shut down carries. When we saw him in the final game of this series, his Gragas he's the best top lane Gragas in the world. I don't even think that's a question. And the way that he roamed onto the map, TP'd into the bottom side, got Ruler ahead. His map awareness is excellent. His flanking is excellent. His engaging is excellent. His tanking is excellent. Like he is such a good player. And even when the enemy top laner is a world-class top laner, he is able to neutralize a lot of their carry potential and basically delete them from the game while providing a lot of support to the carries Knight and Ruler on his team. He's just playing great. I mean, this has been a really amazing season for 369.
Another thing I'll give mad props to is whoever actually did build this roster. Because another thing about this team was, think about JDG that we saw at Worlds last year, where they were like a dark horse to maybe win the whole thing. This is like a better version. This is an even better, like they actually recruited players, Monte, who are also amazing at team fighting. It was actually such a well put together squad. Because as you say, think about it, when you get, these are already strong laners who then become super strong team fighters and are some of the best in the world at their position. Like it's just a fucking amazing squad. It's one of the rare times where super teams do work. Like this just works, mate.
Yeah, they may have some issues like when they fall behind early, in the same way that potentially like T1 had some of those issues. Like if they weren't getting big advantages, they could sometimes struggle. I'm curious to see what happens in like the 13.8 meta with all of the teams. Knight basically ran through playoffs where most of his success was on pick champions like Ahri, Annie, or Syndra. Like all of his wins in playoffs came on those champions. And of course, he's very well known and very good at all those champions. I thought his Annie in the finals was not as good as I've seen it in the past. He missed some stuns. He wasn't keeping track of summoners, so he would sometimes like try and flash stun people who had flash up, and it was a little awkward, but his Ahri was excellent, and I know his Annie has been really good, and he draws tons of Syndra bans, as people know.
Syndra's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. So that's been a big, strong point for him. But basically, they were creating scenarios where he could roam and get Ruler ahead, or they could fight in these skirmishes and start to get a pick and then operate, start getting Jinx resets for Ruler to clean up these team fights. Worked really well for them. I like what we were seeing. JDG continues to be able to run with leads like almost no team in the world.
You know how we always pointed out, specifically Rookie was the best example of this, like that the elite Asian Orianna is so different from the Western Orianna, because the Western Orianna is either you're just a mage player or you pick it to be safe and sort of like, whatever, can't get too out of control. In the same way as Rookie's Orianna was on another level. If you've only seen Western players play Syndra, you have no idea what that champion is. You have to go and watch Knight now play, because when he plays it, you don't even notice it's not mobile, mate. And it's never a problem. Like he's just always in the right place. He just kills you instantly. You just execute. He's so fucking good when he's on his best champions, mate.
Yeah, it's fun, especially because it's been a pocket ban, and they actually Billy had to like pick it away from him when they didn't want to ban it in the final game of the series because they started, banning the Annie instead. I still think some of the LPL meta was a little weird. There was like less priority on Annie for a lot of teams, except for like JDG. And there's still obviously like the pocket ban meta, like we see the Kindred against Billy or the Rumble against OMG.
If you notice, they always have like extra jungle picks in China. If you notice that, they always have like champions that are like really hard to like make work or like mega aggressive. Like for example, they're the region that just always has Nidalee. Just all permanently at jungle, like what? Like that. If people don't know, spoiler, like you can go look up some of the games where people try. That's like probably one of the hardest champions to ever fucking make work. They just do it all the time.
In context, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that really helped JDG was like Kanavi basically only played Wukong, which is extremely strong right now. And in Korea, that started, really rising up the pick ban priority status. And like, especially in the last couple of series, like it was just basically like Wukong for Kanavi. So I think it was a smart priority for them and worked out really well. So JDG, I think, was more similar to kind of the Korean style of drafting on this patch that we saw from T1 and Gen G and KT and those teams, with the exception of obviously the Syndra. That was something, but that's unique to Knight, as you said previously. So yeah, it was not the most spectacular LPL playoffs, let's put it that way, but I still think it's exciting to see the teams that are going. I don't think Billy is better than T1 or Gen G. Yagao had quite a bad performance in the finals, I thought, compared to the rest of his playoff run, where he looked like he was in the kind of form heading into Worlds that he was last year. But by the time it got to the finals, he looked like how he looked at Worlds last year, which was not great. And also, I think it has to be said that, you know, in the semifinals, they faced EDG, and Fofo has been one of the big weak links there, so it wasn't the hardest mid matchup for him.
Yes. It's actually sad though, because basically, like I say, Billy weren't even on the radar for all these great discussions all split long. It was all the other teams. It was top esports, and it was because that was, if people don't know, even though now that's aged very badly, the joke is just be careful what you wish for, rookie. Yeah, I used to think like Knight has a better team than you. Like, yeah, maybe not, because like that team also looked like it could be very interesting on paper, just didn't work out sadly. The Weibo one similar, could have been fire, kind of ended up lackluster. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams, like this is why the MSI one actually hasn't ended up as sick as it's, because we didn't get the dream people from every region. We got it from Korea. We might get it from LEC. We didn't get it from LCS, and we didn't get it from LPL. So it's like, it's going to be good, but it could have been even more stacked. Could have been even more stacked. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.